Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? Hope everything is great. So today we are continuing doing chapter number 13, which is EER, entity or enhanced entity relationship model or data model. And before I start, I'm going to share the link, or let me just share it after I finish. Okay, the link for the project, because not all of you have filled the form, so still there are some students who didn't join any group, so this is not a good sign. Okay, so I'm going to share the link again later on. It's already on Blackboard. I'm going to share it here as well. And all students, even if you are not joined to any group, you can fill it. You can still fill it, so I can have an idea that you are, or you need my help, or you need some assistance to look for another or other members in a group. Anyway, so where did we stop? Yeah, we have discussed we just had an introduction about the EER. We said it's a enhanced version of the ER model by adding more semantic information to the ER model, like what we have discussed, the specialization and generalization. All right, using the superclasses and subclasses. And for example, we have we provided an example as a staff as I'm going to write it in the chat here. So for example, a staff entity is a superclass. All right, and others like we can just maximize the differences between all member of staff based on their job roles, so they will become subclasses. Whatever comes within the staff entity or staff superclass will be subclasses, and also subclasses can be having other subclasses, and so on and so on. So this, we call it type hierarchy. Okay, it's like providing information in levels. So for example, we have managers. Manager is a subclass. Okay, this is an example just to refresh your memory about what you have discussed previously. All right, so let's go through what we have discussed previously, and then we will build based on, yeah, we said, so as a recap, the superclass is an entity that includes one or more distinct subgroupings. Subgrouping or subclasses, all right? And the subclass is a distinct subgrouping of occurrences of an entity type, like staff and manager. Superclass, subclass relationship. We said it's, what is the type of relationship between superclass and subclass? It's 1-to-1, exactly. Sorry. It's 1-to-1. All right, just a minute. I'll have this. Okay, so the relationship is 1-to-1, as we said. It's called superclass and subclass relationship. And then we have discussed some concepts related to superclass and subclass. We said not all members of a superclass need to be member of a subclass, but in reverse, if we said it in opposites, all member of subclass must be a member of a superclass. All right. And then we talked about the shared attributes that all subclasses are sharing within the superclass, and there are specific attributes which are appropriate for each subclass. Okay, if we merge them all together, there will be more or many nulls. So we have in the EER, we can improve this and have them in related to each subclass only. Okay. All right. Where we have stopped, the attributes inheritance, we said all subclasses are inheriting the same shared attributes. Okay, we said there are three types of hierarchy: type hierarchy, specialization, generalization, and is-a. Is-a means it's a kind of relationship that associating each subclass to its superclass. Okay, so manager, for example, is a specialization of staff. Staff is a generalization of manager, and manager is a member of staff. So these are three types hierarchies. We talked about shared subclass. When more than superclass is sharing the same subclass, it's called shared subclass. Like for example, when a sales personnel, yeah, the manager will be from both superclasses, managers and sales personnel. Okay, so let's talk more about specialization. What does it mean? And I believe we have discussed this also, right? Yeah, we said it's the specialization is maximizing the differences. So we are dividing the roles within a superclass. Like for example, a staff becomes manager, secretary, sales personnel. It depends on the requirements of the enterprise. And we said it's a top-down approach, starting defining the superclasses, then its corresponding or related subclasses. All right. So set of subclasses, when we are defining a set of subgroupings or subclasses, we can have attributes, related attributes specific for each subclass, as we said, and also we identify the relationships between all these subclasses. So it's same. We are following the same procedure for the ER modeling, all right? Because before, when we thought about the ER model, we said how we can represent information based on the entity types. We had some rectangular shapes, and then in each rectangular shape there is a name, distinct name. Then we define or identify the attributes among these entity types. Then we had relationships. Same here. When we start identifying the superclasses, same. We identify its related subclasses and any attributes, then relationships. It's the same. So in the specialization, we know that all member of staff are represented within staff entity type. Okay, within staff entity type. So in order to apply specialization, we said we need to maximize the differences between these member of staff. So what are the differences? For example, we have three types. In this example, we have three types of job roles. We have managers who are ruling or controlling or managing the operations or processes within this department, and sales personnel plus secretary. So we have three job roles. That's how we can maximize the differences among them. And then we can have each of these subclasses, they can have its specific or appropriate attributes. So that's how we can apply specialization. Okay. Now in the generalization, it's the reverse of the specialization. The reverse. By minimizing the differences between them. So we see, for example, how we can apply generalization in this case. We start down. Yeah, from down. Yeah, exactly. We start from the low level, which is the subclasses. We see what are the job roles, and then we minimize the differences. All will become members of staff. All right. So it's a bottom-up approach. Here it says all, like for example, a manager, sales personnel, and secretary are represented as distinct as subclasses. So if we need to apply the generalization, we can just have identify all similarities among them. But so we will minimize the differences. So we will see what are the similarities. Then we can have their common attributes and relationships, and all will become like a superclass. So we will generalize them as staff superclass. Okay, it's easy, simple like this, right? Is that clear, all of you students? Is that clear? I think it's clear, right? Okay, let's see how we can apply this and what is the EER model example. As you see in this illustration, this figure, it will show you the relationship between branch, staff, and all three job roles. All right. So, for example, we had this example before. Branch has staff, right? What we need to add to enhance this ER model, we can add more job roles, or we can just count the staff entity type as a superclass. See here, it's a superclass. All right, and there are common attributes in this superclass, like staff number as a primary key, name, position, and salary. All these are common. Then we can separate them into three subclasses. One, manager, and there are, as you can see, notice that there are manager start date and bonus, specific attributes just related to manager subclass. And then number two, we have sales personnel. Also, there are some specific attributes, sales area and car allowance. Number three, secretary subclass, and there is the typing speed, which is only related to secretary. All right. So we are going to have this, put this in your mind, okay, understand it, and see the only difference that you can see here from how we can differentiate between ER and EER. See this triangle shape, this one, this shape is indicating the specialization and generalization processes. All right, so it's like an arrow or a triangle shape indicating the superclass, and what comes under that, the subclasses. Got the point? So how we can represent the specialization, generalization? By adding a triangle shape or an arrow, let's say an empty arrow, indicating the superclass. So for example, the staff will have this shape, okay, and then underneath will be the subclasses, corresponding subclasses. What we can see here, see, this is the constraint. You remember when we apply the constraint, this is the multiplicity. Remember this? We said there is cardinality and participation, right? Remember from the ER model. Participation will be on the right side, right? Sorry, cardinality will be in the right side, and the participation will be in the left side. The number which is displayed on the right side will be the maximum possible occurrence for this entity relationship or entity type occurrence, and the one with the in the left side, the minimum, which is the participation, and can be mandatory or optional. It can be 0 or 1. Okay, mandatory or optional. Now this is the same in the EER model. We can have a similar kind of constraint, but it will be in different way. It can be just represented in different way, like yes, exactly, it's only one-to-one, so there is no use of using this. So just we have the participation constraint, which is on the left side. So we know that the participation on the left side always, right? So participation will be mandatory or optional. So we can just have mandatory or optional. Why we put optional here? Who can tell? Why we put optional? Yeah. Yeah, 3. But why optional, not mandatory? And this relationship between the superclass, the staff, and all subclasses, manager or sales personnel, secretary, do they all have to be managers, sales personnel, or secretary, or it's optional to be managers? Yeah, exactly. This is the point. So not all member of staff need to be a member of all subclasses or 8 subclasses. Okay, not all of them. So it's optional. Obviously, it's optional. But in case that there is a mandatory relationship among the superclass and subclass, there must be here in the constraint mandatory. You must write mandatory. Okay, what is the and? And means and it can be, this is something we call disjoint. Exactly. Okay, you mean the superclass, right, Qasim? Yeah, exactly. All of member of staff need to be this. That's why it's a one-to-one. Okay, one-to-one relationship. What you are talking about is how we can restrict their occurrences among this relationship. So we have 2 types of constraints here. We have participation, which is display on the left side, and we have disjoint or non-disjoint. Okay, participation will be either mandatory or optional. Mandatory means all member of a superclass need to be either member of any of each subclasses. While optional means not all of member of staff need to be a member of each subclasses. Now the second one, the second constraint can be disjoint or non-disjoint. Disjoint mean and means, who can tell? And mean like, what is the meaning of this constraint, disjoint constraint? And anyone, you have any idea? It can be and or, so it comes and or, so we can put and means that, I will give you a hint. Remember when we said there is a shared subclass between manager and sales personnel? A manager can be in both subclasses. So this means that it can be and a member of staff can be a member of manager and sales personnel. That's the meaning of and. Okay, a member of staff can be, yeah, exactly, Qasim. It can be both. Okay, but if it is non-disjoint, it will be or. Only one, yeah, only one occurrence in each subclass. All right, so this is the meaning of and or disjoint constraint. If it is and, it means that a member of staff can be in 2 or more than 1 subclasses. Exactly. If it is or it's called non-disjoint constraint, it will be only in 1 subclass. That's the meaning of this is exactly what we are going to discuss after a while in the following slides. Yes, Qasim. Yeah, like cold store. Yeah. And what are the job roles in this cold store? You don't have to have many positions. Exactly. Only, for example, salesperson, cashier, only one. All right. So it's or disjoint or non-disjoint, not disjoint. Okay. Let's see how we can represent this. Let's see in this example, we can see a branch. Still, we have a superclass, which is the staff. Okay, this is the superclass, and we have shared attributes, and we have this. All right, we have this. What we have discussed. This is the first example. It's optional, and optional means not all member of a superclass need to be a member of a subclass. This is the meaning of optional. So it's optional. I can be manager, I can be sales personnel, I can be secretary, or other job roles. So these are job roles subclasses. Now let's talk about something else. If we have on the right side, you can see here we have added a like full-time or part-time. So in this case, we have added two subclasses under the staff. So all members of a staff need to be full-time or part-time. That's the meaning of here, the constraint. So here, full-time permanent employees will have also popular attributes or specific attributes like salary scale, holiday allowance. Okay, so this is the contract employment. If it is full-time, exactly, Qasim, that's the point. So it is, in this case, the constraint will be mandatory. Why mandatory? Yeah, exactly. All member of a staff or the superclass need to be a member of either one, at least one subclass. Okay, so it's mandatory to be full-time or part-time. And the meaning of this non-disjoint, they cannot be in both. So it's either full or part. Okay, so that's the meaning of the constraints. Got the point, ya jama'a? All of you? Do you have any question? This is the basic or the the meaning of the basic concepts in an EER model and how to represent information in this way, in this EER model. Okay, we have added also another hierarchy within the same subclasses. If you want to understand the term shared subclass, okay, or type hierarchy, we talked about type hierarchy, right? We said each superclass has subgroupings or subclasses, and also subclasses might have more subclasses, related subclasses. So here, let's focus on this. Staff has or staff can be manager, sales personnel, or secretary. And we discussed the optional and you understand this, right? So it's optional to be manager and it can be more than one subclass. So it's the participation is optional and it's disjoint. Okay, disjoint means it's and. All right, so as you can see here, the manager and sales personnel will be sharing the same subclass, and this is exactly the meaning of shared subclass, which is sales manager. So sales manager can be a member of both manager and sales personnel. And what we can put here, we can put here, because it's only one subclass shared, so we cannot use disjoint or joint. Sorry, disjoint or non-disjoint. So and or, there is no use of using it here because it's only one subclass, only one. So which participation will be here? It can be optional, not mandatory. Okay. So you can use your common sense in order to understand all these relationships. Now, let's talk about the secretary. The secretary also might have another subclass, which is assistant secretary. Sometimes you can see two secretaries within one department. Actually, it's one secretary and the other one is assistant secretary. Okay, so this is something also we can have it optional because not all secretaries might have assistant secretaries. Only maybe main departments or dean departments, for example, dean office or other administrative offices. All right, and can you see here the start? Yes, exactly. Optional means it can be null. Yes, this is the point. So you can see the attributes with these subclasses. Assistant secretary, it has, for example, start date, sales target for the sales manager, and so on. So this is how we can represent all semantic information and details within an EER model. And just put in your mind that all these attributes, the attributes for the staff, for example, staff shared attributes, plus sales personnel, plus manager, all these attributes will be inherited where? Inherited for the sales manager. So sales manager will be having all these attributes, inheriting all these attributes. All right? Okay. Now, so we have already discussed this, the constraints. We said there are there are two types of constraints. Number one is participation constraints, can be either mandatory or optional. We said, what is the meaning of mandatory? It means that, yeah, every member of a superclass must also be a member of a subclass. Okay, so we use mandatory in a curly bracket. Have you noticed? It's not a normal bracket, it's curly bracket like this. Okay, so we are representing it in a curly bracket below the triangle shape. Okay, and the optional, we said not a member of staff need not belong to any of its subclasses. This is optional. Okay. And what about the disjoint? We said it's and. We can say it's and it can be represented after the comma sign, after the participation. And this is and. It describes the relationship actually. It can be a member of one or more than one subclass. So it's and. Okay, it's what? It's and. While non-disjoint, yeah, this is it. So it applies if has more than one subclass. See, if it is only one subclass, can we use the disjoint? If it is only one subclass under the superclass, we cannot. And you can see this clearly here in this EER model. And here, there is only one subclass under the manager and under these two superclasses. So we just use the participation constraints option. Even here, only one subclass. But if we have more than subclass, we can use the disjoint or non-disjoint. So it's disjoint. It is number one is disjoint. Sorry, here it's disjoint. It's or, and non-disjoint. It's and. I have mixed this. So here in this ER diagram, the disjoint type is disjoint. Yeah, I'm confused now. Non-disjoint. It's and. Yeah. So in here, if it is and, it's non-disjoint. Okay, let me write it here. Non-disjoint. All right. If it is or, it's here. It's disjoint. All right. So or disjoint. Non-disjoint. It's and. Yeah. It's obvious. All right. Okay. Now the categories of this, the categories of constraints can be mandatory and disjoint. What is this disjoint? Or, okay. Optional disjoint, optional or. Mandatory non-disjoint, mandatory and, yes, awesome. And optional non-disjoint means optional and. Okay. Yeah, if it is only one subclass. If it is one subclass under the superclass, no need to use the disjoint. Here already it's called disjoint as a general, disjoint constraints. Okay. So using specialization and generalization, you need to know that using these processes in order to improve the ER, it's optional. It depends on the requirement or the complexity of the company or the system. So if it is complex, if you feel that it's complex, you can add more semantic, more information or additional concepts to the EER. All right. So it's optional to use specialization and generalization in the EER model. They are model. But you will be asked. You can see the requirement for the project will be uh, it's it's compulsory to use the EER. You need to have your ER diagram or data model, and then you need to enhance it to EER. So think about adding more. Yes, this concept, adding more concept to the EER model. So this is basically the EER. You will see same. Yeah. Yeah. Only specialization and generalization. The triangle shape. Okay, you can add it within a main entity. You feel, for example, you will use stuff. Okay, you will yeah, you will add the triangle shape, and then underneath it you will add the job roles. For example, you use student, index student, and students have two options: online or on campus. Okay, so you can add two subclasses, online and campus. It's easy. Just think and just brainstorm. اوكي اي عادي اي entity ممكن there can be any job role under any entity, but it's not necessarily to be done this way. Just imagine, use your imagination. Okay, so this is just an example. It shows you the ER model, and as you can see here, this ER model can be improved. This is the ER model. Can you see any of the EER concepts in this example? تقدر تشوف أي شيء اللي خذناه اليوم specialization generalization in this model? Nothing, لا? Yes, we can add, but it's an ER. This is an ER. No arrow, no triangle. Yes, exactly. That's the point. يعني أنا ليش هاي قاعدين نقول هذه لأن هذه ممكن إن yeah, it can be improved. So this is an ER, and we have next time inshallah we are going to discuss how we can improve this into an enhanced ER model using three options. They suggest three options. في work example they suggest three options. I guess this is it. يعني what we are going to discuss next time. Just how to improve it by adding more semantic information or details. Okay, so yeah, they have three options. See, they improved it this way. Under the owner, there is two, private owner or business owner. Okay. All right, so next time we are going, this is it. Yani, it's like we have finished this chapter slide, but next time inshallah we are going to discuss this, just an example, just to make you understand it more clearly. All right, so do you have any questions so far? Do you have any question? No questions? Okay, let me just share the link, please guys, all of you. The link is available on Blackboard as well. I'm gonna share it now. I'm gonna share it again here in the chat box. So this is the last chance to fill this. All right, this is the last chance. Where is that? Yes. Yes, anything. It depends on the requirements. Yes, if it says, for example, there is a scenario, if it says it's the mid chapter are not includes in the final, yes, it's included. It's included. Awesome. It's included, unfortunately. Fortunately, I don't know. That's why I'm having some activities, word wall games, word wall, whatever. Don't be sad. Don't be sad, please. It's easy. No, but the focus will be on the later chapter slides. The questions will be focusing on after midterm. Yeah, after midterm chapters. It's 7, I guess. Only, yeah, yeah. We have covered so far. Yeah, 1, 2, 4, 12. Yeah, we have finished 5, and we just 2 remains. All right, Ali. Mashallah, I'm hearing some voices now. Ali, I'm listening. Okay, don't worry, don't worry. Everything will be okay. The focus on the questions will be focusing on after. I get it. When I am when I am doing this, when I'm creating the questions in the exam, I'm having like 10% of or 20%, let's say. Yeah, maybe one is a question or one is a question from the midterm and some few questions from the true or false and from the midterm chapters. Okay, so don't worry. Inshallah, everything will be fine. You will be covering all this and no worries. All right? Be optimistic, guys. Optimistic. Let me see the attendance. Oops. I will get the snap here. Snapping tool. عندي انا شورت كات بس ما قاعده تشتغل ظاهر انه وايد في شنو عندك كنترول
سمون هاي الأرقام ويا شيفت وإس
اقول لك عندي انا دايركت عليكم السلام. Okay, anyway, I was using this before, so okay, no problem. Let me just get this. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for attending today. See you next time, inshallah. This was for previous chapters. Okay, bye bye. Thank you. Bye bye.